going to take a look at the Roadway Network tool. You can access the tool palette from the Modeler pull-down menu under Toolbox's Roadway. And we'll take a look at the Roadway Network tool during this particular video. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the Roadway Network tool. First thing we need to select is a GPK file. And this will be the database where we store alignments and profiles for the various roadways that we're going to create. We're going to create a list of roads, and then once we're done, we'll process the entire network. So I'm going to add a new entry here to the list. Type will be roadway, and you'll give it a name. This will be the name that the chain gets created as well in Kogo. So if I call it main, then I'll have a chain called main in Kogo. The preference file that we're looking for here is for all the roadway design settings from the Roadway Modeler tool. So we're going to go ahead and select that preference file, and later on we'll take a look at some of the options there. You can edit the preference file before you run it at this point as well. Next, we're going to select the alignment that represents our main road, and here I'll go ahead and select the centerline graphic in the design file. Choose a stationing for the chain direction, and you can see that it's going to start with point number 1, station 0, and it stores that into the Kogo database. Now, as far as a composite section, I'm going to go ahead and choose a comp section to go ahead and push down the roadway. And at this point I could view that comp section to see what it looks like, or if I desired I could edit the comp section as well, and that would bring up the comp section dialog to make changes to that particular one for this roadway. Now if I so desired, I could go ahead and place returns, so it would do the intersections between this roadway and other roadways, and if this roadway had a cul-de-sac, I could go ahead and tell it to create the cul-de-sac as well. And we'll look at those tools individually as well later on. So I'm going to add that item to the list. Now once it's in the list, you can actually double click on it to run it or not run it. So later on we may want to run a few of the roads, but not all of them in the list. I'll continue with that same philosophy, and I'll do a side street. I'll select the element for the side street. Now here it's giving me a duplicate point number, and that's because I haven't changed that, so it's going to get the next available in the Kogo database. So it's going to start at point number 9, and it's stored that alignment in there. Now you can choose to limit the centerline element of the roadway object to a particular station range. So for example, I want to start the centerline site element just inside or outside the edge of the intersection. So here I can come in there and start the site element at that location versus at station 0. So you can define the beginning and ending stations with the select point icon. I'm going to now move on to the next road. So we'll say side street 2. Select that element, the direction of stationing, and define the beginning point for that one at that location. And then So now at this point I'm just going to put those three in there. Now this can be saved off. So for example, I can do a save as, and it saves off the dialog. So if I want to get back to this particular dialog, I can. Now it's important to note that if I do call up a Roadway Network preference dialog file, I need to have the chains and profiles existing in the COGO database. So, as we go through and select the elements, that's when the alignments are getting stored. So therefore, if I just call up a preference file with nothing, I need to make sure that I have that COGO database there, and the elements, the chains and profiles are already defined, or the chains at least. So at this point, I can now process the network. So I'm going to go ahead and process the network, and it'll go out there and cut all the roadways, and where I had toggled on to create the curb returns and create the cul-de-sacs, it would go ahead and create those as well. And you can see here that the roadways were created, the curb returns for the intersecting roadways were done, and in this case the cul-de-sac was completed and designed as well.